Hello everyone, I hope all of you are doing well, and here comes the new series on this YouTube channel called GS with Rahul. And as you know that Vision IAS current affair magazine, that is Vision IAS PT 365 of economy, have been launched recently. So we are going to start this new series in English language, and insofar as the Hindi language is concerned, you can visit Vision IAS current affair PT 365 series available in my YouTube channel. So basically, insofar as the Hindi videos are concerned, you can consider joining the another playlist in which we have covered the course with respect to June, July, August, September, like this. Okay, so here in insofar as the PT 365 is concerned, I am going to start the English version of economy PT 365 for UPSC Civil Services Examination 2020. So let's get started. And if you are new on this YouTube channel, kindly subscribe to the to this particular channel. And insofar as the PDF is concerned, you can visit the website called this on Telegram. You can visit PDF for exams. And insofar as the official course of Vision IAS current affair PT 365 is concerned, you can also consider joining this specific course by Vision IAS official faculty, and you can log on to visioниas.in for more details. So let's get started with this particular series. And here, as usual, we are going to talk about the things from the perspective of the index itself. In this lesson, I will try my level best to cover this first unit of your Vision IAS PT 365 of Indian economy, and this is all about fiscal policy. So fiscal policy or fiscal policy, you can pronounce it accordingly. So we are going to cover this fiscal policy in this specific lesson. So around 8 you can say 8 pages we are going to cover in this part 1 of Vision IAS PD 365 economy. So let's get started and let's talk about the first important news article, which is with respect to fiscal policy, is state of Indian economy. So insofar as the Indian state of Indian economy is concerned, first of all we have the slowdown in Indian economy. So recently in the news, so you must be knowing about this thing that we are growing at a very you can say very low rate insofar as the economy is concerned. So that's why you have to understand that economic data recently indicates that there is a slowdown. So how can you know that yes, there is a slowdown or not? So for understanding the slowdown, there are certain indicators that you have to look upon. For example, you can look for your economy, you can look for the GFCF, that is capital formation in the economy. You can look at the saving rate in the economy. You can look at the production in the economy in terms of you can say manufacturing. You can look at the service sector. You can look at different dimensions of Indian economy in order to understand that yes, there is a slowdown in Indian economy. So let's start with the perspective that you have to understand in order to understand that yes, slowdown is there. So if you look at the GDP, so GDP growth at the constant price in the recent quarter 3 basically means October to December. Okay, so you must be knowing about this thing that there are different quarters in the in any financial year. Quarter basically means the time period of 4 months. Okay, you can understand this thing very easily. Okay, so 4.7%, which is lowest in 7 years. Okay, so in quarter third of financial year 2019-2020, India was growing at the rate of 4.7%, which basically shows that it is the lowest in 7 years, and it was basically released by National Statistical Office. So this is something that you have to understand, that GDP data is being released by NSO. Okay, so National Statistical Office. So about what is this National Statistical Office, what are the why this particular office is in the news, we will cover in the next article after covering the basic things. And apart from that, in terms of the quarterly growth, India has lost the tag of the fastest growing economy to China. Earlier we were the fastest growing economy in the world, but now, as of now, China is growing at 6.6%, and we are no more in the position to be called as the fastest growing economy in the world. And apart from that, if you consider the economic survey 2019-2020, projected growth was 6%. This growth was around 6 to 6.5%. Okay, so you can understand that yes, we are talking about the recently launched economic survey. Okay, and apart from that, what are the reasons? So basically we are talking about two kind of reasons in this slowdown. One is the structural, and another is cyclical. So you must be knowing about this thing, that economy is like this. Okay, economy is like this. Okay, there will be the boom period, there will be the kind of slowdown as well. Okay, so whenever there is a slowdown with respect to this particular picture, this particular graph, we will say that yes, economy is slowing down. Slowdown is there, but it is cyclical slowdown. But when it comes to structural slowdown is a wide ranging phenomena which can start from growth menu, which can be considered, which may be there due to different reasons. Okay, demand might not be there, supply might not be there. You can say in case of agriculture, you can understand some, you can say monsoon related problems might be there. So structural thing is different. Okay, for example, LPG reforms were required in 1990s. Okay, because of the balance of payment crisis. So these are the structural thing. If inflation is high, this is also a structural thing. Okay, supply side, demand side perspective. Okay, so different perspectives are there. So this is known as structural slowdown. Okay, so current scenario is considered as the mix of both structural as well as the cyclical phenomena. Okay, so now the second component is investment. So I hope you are getting the nitty gritty, that why we are dealing with this thing like this. Okay, so basically slowdown is there. If I would say that slowdown is there, you have to substantiate that particular thing with certain proof. So when you say slowdown, you have to give the view that yes, GDP is slow, and that's why we can say slowdown is there. Similarly, we can say investment is less, so hence slowdown is there. So investment can be measured from the perspective of the term called GFCF. This is very important for your upcoming examination. Gross fixed capital formation. It is nothing but the kind of investment that the economy is having. So GFCF as a percent of GDP, it is also showing a declining trend. So if you observe the economic survey 2019-20, you will be able to understand that yes, GFCF is continuously decreasing. Capital formation is not happening in the Indian economy. So GFCF is net investment, which measures the net increase in the fixed capital. So you must be knowing about this thing, that whenever there will be the investment, there will be the capital formation. Okay, and capital formation will further you can say perpetuate into a cycle which may be considered as the virtuous cycle in Indian economy, that was highlighted by the previous economic survey, that is economic survey of 2018-19. Okay, so you can understand this thing, that because GFCF is not there, capital formation is not there. Why capital formation is not there? Because investment is not happening. Okay, if you consider, let me give you the simple example. If you consider the formula to calculate GDP by expenditure method, you will get to know that there is a simple phenomena in your NCERT, C plus I plus G plus export minus import. Okay, C plus I plus G and plus export minus import. Okay, I hope you are getting this thing. Okay, don't be confused with respect to what I am writing over here. GDP is equal to C plus I plus G, and then we have export minus import, X minus IM. Okay, so this is the phenomena, CIG and export minus import, summation of C plus I plus G. So C here basically means here when we are talking about C, it is all about the consumption. Okay, consumption expenditure means when I am purchasing something, you are purchasing something, this is known as consumption expenditure. I basically means investment expenditure, and G basically means government expenditure. And export minus import, you can understand that if your export is more and import is less, then it will contribute to the GDP. Okay, so Indian economy is expenditure, this consumption driven economy, because if you consider the phenomena, if you consider the data, around 60% of economy is based on this consumption itself. Okay, and investment also plays an important role. So if investment is not there, if GFCF is not there, we may consider that investment is not there, and because of this thing economic slowdown will be there. So this is something that you have to understand over here. And apart from that, let me give you a simple perspective of what economic survey is also to highlighting insofar as the investment is concerned. So if you consider the present economic survey, the recent economic survey, the survey is basically highlighting that if you consider investment have different components. Investment have household investment, it has private corporate investment, as well as the public sector investment. So public sector investment is stagnant at 7%. Okay, public sector investment is stagnant at 7%. If you consider the private corporate investment, this private corporate investment is also, somehow you will find out that it is also stagnant at around 11-12%. But if you look at the household investment, it is decreasing. In the previous, in 2011 it was 16%, but as of now it is 10.5% in the fiscal year 2017-18. So this data is not important. What you have to remember, what you have to understand insofar as this thing is concerned, is the fact that investment is decreasing, gross fixed capital formation is not happening. And if you dwell into it, you will find that in household sector there is a decrement, and this decrement can be highlighted and can be explained by the drag of financial sector over the household sector. Okay, drag, this is something which is known as drag insofar as the economic survey terminology is concerned. Okay, drag of financial sector on the household sector. Why we are saying it as the drag of financial sector? Drag of financial sector basically means that because of lack of, you can say, because of the lack of the, you can say, the capacity of financial sector is not there, and because of the incapacity of financial sector, what is happening, that people are unable to invest in the real estate. So household investment is directly or indirectly, anyhow, what you have to understand, that household investment is going towards towards real estate, and this is not happening as of now. Why? Because of the loopholes of financial sector, because of the NPA crisis, because of the different you can say scenarios that are going on in the financial sector. Okay, so I hope you are getting this entire understanding. So GFCF is essentially net investment, which basically measures the net increase in the fixed capital. Okay, so if there will be an increase in the fixed capital, you will be able to increase the fixed capital only if you will perform the investment, or you can say capital investment. Okay, so it is a component of expenditure method of calculating GDP. So when we are talking about expenditure method of calculating GDP, the C plus I plus G plus export minus import is nothing but the expenditure method of calculating GDP. There are different methods like production method is there, in which you will get to know about GVA and all, and there is the another method, income method is also there. So income method, expenditure method, and this third method. So these are the methods. And apart from that, fixed investment rate has started declining sharply since 2011. Okay, so we are saying, we are basically facing this deceleration. Okay, so this deceleration is there. Fixed investment rate has started declining. So this is something that economic survey is also highlighting. And apart from that, the third component which you can use to substantiate this thing is the saving. So if you consider saving is declined from 32.7% in 2011 to 29.3%. so basically you have to remember for your prelims that there is a decline in the saving rate. So why so basically there is a decline in the saving rate, and it is because the economy is experiencing a declining wage growth. Because of declining wage growth, there is a declining of saving as well. So kindly remember this thing, that there is a decline in the saving as well. And insofar as the total factor productivity is there, what is this TFP? What is this total factor productivity? So total factor productivity is the ratio of total output, that is the GDP, and the weighted average of the input, okay, that is labor and capital. So total output upon total input. So if you consider this thing, this is known as total factor productivity. Productivity itself is equal to output upon input, but when we are talking about total factor productivity, it is all about the output upon the weighted average of input, that is labor and capital. So you must be knowing about the component, the factors of production that you will study, that you would have studied, you would have been studied in your class 9th economics as well. Okay, the story of village Palampur. In that chapter you will get to know about the factors of production, which are land, labor, capital, entrepreneur. Okay, and these are the things. Okay, so you must be knowing about this thing, land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. So these are the factors of production. So here you have to consider labor and capital. Okay, labor and capital. So divide, these are the inputs, and output is GDP. So total factor productivity will be there. Okay, so a higher TFP basically implies higher growth with the same set of labor and capital. Okay, so you can easily understand that yes, if TFP is increasing, it basically means that at a given input our output is increasing. Okay, so for let's say input is 5, and here also input is 5. Okay, let's say 5, and if it is 10, and if it is 15, so you will get that TFP is more in terms of this particular calculation. Here you will get 3, here you will get 2. So basically higher TFP basically implies this phenomena. And apart from that, since 2008 TFP growth has been slower for most nations, and for China it has been negative since 2012. Okay, so remember this thing, you might be confused in this particular concept. So remember this thing, that it is slower for most of the nation. Okay, why it is slower for most of the nation? Because basically if you consider the recent economic growth of the entire global economy, it is growing only at 2.9%. so it is growing at a very small rate, and that's why we are having this particular data as well. In 2016 India's TFP growth was 3.5%. so these are the data that you can just keep in your mind. Okay, it is not that important, just try to remember the trends that are going on. The another important thing is middle income trap. So insofar as the middle income trap is concerned, so recently PM Economic Advisory Council, okay, so this is the council, this PMEAC, this warned that India may soon get caught into the middle income trap. Middle income trap basically means that India is going to be caught in this particular trap. Okay, so what is this trap? So let's say a economy is there which is rapidly growing, a rapidly growing economy is there. Okay, so if growth rate is very high, what will happen, that people will start expecting from that particular economy that it is going to become the, you can say, if a particular economy is growing at the highest rate or very large rate, what happened, that we try to extrapolate the things, that okay, if it is growing at 8%, it will become you can say largest economy in 5 years, 10 years, or something like that. Okay, so this is something that we concerned, okay, that we basically consider. But what happened, that after some time the economic growth automatically it slows down and our extrapolation fails. Okay, because what happened, that if let's say if there is a, if let's say there let's say 8% of rupee 10, it is very easy, 8% of rupee 10, but 8% of 1 crore, it is very, you can say, it is very difficult to achieve. Okay, so for example, if you are scoring, you can say 50-60 marks, it is very easy to improve yourself from 40 to 80, but it is very difficult to improve yourself from 90% to 97%, 96%. Okay, so when you reach at the higher level, it is difficult to basically sustain that particular momentum. Same goes with economy as well. So if your economy is growing, you will extrapolate that, okay, in 5 years we will become the fastest, we will become the largest economy or something like that. But what happened that after a particular point of time, the growth will, you can say, it gets slow down. Okay, so this is known as middle income trap. Why? Because middle income trap basically means which countries are known as which countries are said to be in the middle income trap. So gross national product per capita between $1,000 to 12,000. Okay, such economies are considered as the middle income, you can say, middle income range countries. Okay, so this is something that you have to understand. Okay, so India might get caught into in such kind of phenomena. So it is a relatively new phenomena and was first mentioned in 2007 by Bird Bank. Okay, so remember this keyword, remember this particular statement, because UPSC might ask this thing. And apart from that, it is associated with the relatively sustained growth slowdown with both direct effect, income losses, as well as the indirect effect. Okay, so this is all about this thing. And apart from that, one more you can say proof to understand that yes, economic slowdown is there, is the auto industry. So according to SIAM, that is Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturing, auto industry is witnessing the steep dip in the sale in month of July. Okay, so basically there are different reasons of you can say slowdown in the auto industry. NBFC crisis is there. Okay, ILFS crisis, NBFC crisis. Similarly, there are many policy reset. Okay, there are many policy reset. For example, if you understand the different policy reset, recently what happened that in 2019, in the month of April, if I am not wrong, at that particular point of time, anti-lock braking system was mandatory for the vehicles in India in order to prevent the road accidents, because in India on the daily basis we are having 400 to 500 road accidents. So basically you can just consider, just imagine this thing and compare this with the coronavirus pandemic that is happening in India. Okay, just try to understand this thing, compare it with the Italy. In Italy 400, 500, 800, 900 people are dying per day, and we are basically we are taking it very seriously. But in India 400 to 500 people dies on the daily basis on the roads, and out of those 400, 500, 19% are the people who are pedestrians. Okay, so these are the loopholes in our system. So you can just imagine the situation like this. Okay, so ABS, anti-lock braking system. Similarly, some days back in the month of June itself, there was cafe regulation that was in the news. Okay, cafe regulation, it was with respect to increasing the efficiency of the fuel and the decrement in the pollution level, the carbon emission level. So decrement in the emission and increment in the efficiency of the fuel, this cafe regulation was also in the news. Similarly, you must be knowing about BS6 sort of thing that is going on. Okay, BS6 is going to be launched very soon. Okay, so because of all these things, because of these policy reset, what is happening, that auto industry is facing the problems. And apart from that, the aggregators like Ola, Uber. Okay, so because of these kind of things, what is happening, that people are because of these things, demand is decreasing. Okay, so this is something that you can understand. And apart from that, if you consider the GDP growth, so here you can see as per PIB, as per the data of the government economic survey 2019-20, India's economy is, you can say, there is a continuous decrement. Okay, there is a continuous decrement, and this increment is not actual, this is just the prediction for the next you can say this next fiscal year. Okay, so you cannot consider this, just imagine, just take this into perspective and you will get to know that yes, there is a continuous decrement. So remember this thing, because UPSC usually tends to frame the statement from such kind of information. And apart from that, some additional information. So recently in India's GDP series, there is a kind of changes that India has recently enforced or basically adopted. Okay, so in 2015, Central Statistics Office came with a revised methodology for the calculation of GDP. Okay, so what are the changes? So if you have followed my videos on this current affairs, I told you that there is a simple trick to remember what all sort of changes that you have to remember. Okay, so first of all, you have to remember that there is a kind of update or upgradation. Okay, so insofar as the update is concerned, earlier the 2G this 2004-5 was the it was the kind of you can say base year, but now 2011-12 is being selected as the base year. This is the first change, or this is the first update that is being brought. The second update is with respect to the latest data. For example, recent latest agricultural census data, latest livestock census data, latest other kind of data. Okay, so incorporation of such kind of data. And apart from that, similarly, apart from update, there are some other things. For example, SNA, system of national account. So here also you can see incorporation of recommendation of system of national account. This system of national account recommendation were added in this new terminology, new kind of phraseology. So here you can see grow in evaluation of GVA and NVA at basic price. This is the first recommendation that has been accepted. And apart from that, the second thing is with respect to the GDP. So GDP at market price rather than this another kind of price. Okay, GDP at market price. So considering GDP at market price as a headline GDP, this is there. And apart from that, the third change, the third recommendation which was accepted was the unincorporated enterprises. So treating unincorporated as the quasi corporates. Okay, so these are the three changes on the recommendation of system of national account. Similarly, there is the another change, incorporation of MCA21 database. This was the another change, incorporation of MCA21 database. This MCA21 database basically means Ministry of Corporate Affairs 21 database. This is the kind of you can say e-governance portal where different you can say different industries, different sort of enterprises, they basically they fill their data and all at that particular platform. So basically they are using this MCA21 database. So there are controversies because MCA21 database, why you are referring MCA21 database over index of industrial production and annual survey of industries, which are you can say popular indices or popular exercises done by national statistics in this NSO. Okay, earlier they were done by this Central Statistics Office, but now you can consider that they are being done by NSO, National Statistical Office, because CSO and NSSO are being merged in NSO. Okay, so we will cover these things in the later lectures. What is NSO, CSO, NSSO? As of now, you can just keep on remembering the points. The another thing is the broader coverage of financial sector. Now the stock brokers, stock exchange, asset management companies, all these things are concerned. All these things are considered as the financial sector. The another important change is the adoption or this adopted effective labor input method, ELI. Okay, effective labor input method. What is this effective labor input method? It basically means that every sector of economy is not contributing equally. Okay, you cannot treat unequal equally. Okay, for example, in our constitution also there is a concept of equal protection of law. Okay, or for example, you can understand that if people are not equal, you cannot treat them equally. Okay, so if people are not contributing equally, you cannot treat them equally. Okay, so that's why we have effective labor input method, in which what will happen that there will be the differential labor productivity. Okay, my productivity will be different from your productivity. Or you can say if I am working in the in let's say in economy also, there are different sectors of economy. So there might be the different productivity as on the basis of their productivities. Okay, so that's why this is there. Okay, so if you remember the different changes that has been brought, so first of all there is the update insofar as the, you can say, your base year is concerned, update insofar as the data is concerned. Okay, agricultural census and different things have been adopted. Apart from that, SNA, so three recommendation of system of national account have been accepted or have been adopted. Similarly, you will have the MCA 21 database, the most controversial thing. And apart from that, you will have the ELI. So don't remember points, don't remember different, you can say, and that okay, these are the changes. Just remember these keywords: SNA, MCA 21, ELI. Okay, financial sector, remember these keywords and you will be able to get through it. Okay, and apart from that, the another thing is GVA. Basically you have to remember what is GVA. So it is a measure of value added in the goods and services produced in the economy. That is, GVA is equal to output minus input. Okay, so what is the value added? Okay, so for example, if a bread manufacturer is converting the wheat into bread, so there will be the kind of there will be a money associated with the wheat. Okay, and there will be the money associated with the bread as well. Okay, so bread, the cost of bread minus cost of wheat, and what is the value added by the this bread manufacturer, this is known as gross value added. Okay, so it is just the output minus input. GVA is basically sector specific, while GDP is calculated by the summation of GVA of all the sectors. Okay, so remember this thing as well, that GVA is the sector specific phenomena. Okay, and apart from that, cyclical slowdown, as has been highlighted earlier by me itself, that in the economy there is a period of lean economic activity that occurs at regular interval. Okay, so just remember the figure like this. Okay, economy is not positive always, it neither be negative always, there will be a kind of this you can say this something like this. Okay, positive negative, just like your alternate current. Okay, so this is it. And apart from that, structural slowdown, so it is a more of deep rooted phenomena. You can basically counter this cyclical phenomena with a certain time period, after certain time, but insofar as a structural thing is concerned, it is deep rooted phenomena. It is driven by disrupted technology or changing demography. Okay, so something sort of this thing. Okay, for example, after 2040, what will happen is that we are going to become the you can say, we are going to lose on the demographic dividend that we are having in the present scenario. Okay, so these are the things that you cannot change. You cannot change the age of your population. Okay, so if we are young currently, if India is young currently, this is the advantage, this is structural advantage. If we will become old after 2040, then this will be the kind of you can say structural disadvantage, you can say. Okay, so this is something that you can understand. Similarly, LPG thing was also a structural phenomena. Okay, and apart from that, stagflation, this keyword was in the news. What is stagflation? Stagflation basically means that inflation is there and at the same time growth is also stagnant and unemployment is also high. Okay, so just remember these three keywords: high unemployment is there, inflation is there, and growth is stagnant. Okay, so stag basically means stagnant growth, inflation basically means higher inflation, and then you have unemployment as well. So why there is a problem in this particular thing, why it is not good to have the stagflation? Because what happen, if you consider the simple monetary policy perspective, or if you apply the simple economics of you can say demand and supply, what happen is that if inflation is there, let's say inflation is there in the market, so in case of inflation, what RBI can do by using the monetary policy, if inflation is there in the market, what will happen is that RBI tries to basically they will try to reduce the money supply in the market, so that money with the people can decrease, so that the demand for the particular good can decrease, so that inflation can be catered. Okay, so that inflation can be countered. Okay, so what happened, this is something that is there. But now what is happening, that if RBI goes to this particular thing. Let's say inflation is there, and RBI reduce the money supply by increasing repo rate, by increasing, you can say, bank rate, by increasing different thing, policy rate, or you can say different things. Okay, so if they tries to, basically if they tries to decrease the money supply by increasing the interest rate on the loans and all, by doing all these things, what will happen, that inflation then what will happen, that production will decrease. Okay, because if you are doing this thing, if you are basically, let's say, just imagine the situation that interest rate is high. If interest rate is high, the people in the economy, they will not get loan easily, or they would cancel their plan to take the loan. Now they would not be in the position to take the loan because interest rate at loan is high. Okay, so what will happen, that the demand in the market, it gets reduced, and now if demand is not there, this particular news will be reached to the auto manufacturer, and manufacturer or the companies will think that because demand is not there, we have to reduce the production. And if they would reduce the production, what will happen, that they would require less number of workers, and because of this thing, they have to put they have to basically they what will happen, that they would, and the unemployment will occur. Why unemployment will occur? Because if production is less, what will happen, that they would basically stop the people from working in their organization. Okay, so there will be the kind of unemployment increment. Okay, so inflation, if you just consider one of the popular relation, okay, you will find that inflation and employment are directly proportional to each other. But here, in case of stagflation, these becomes indirectly proportional to each other. Okay, so if you if you reduce inflation, unemployment will came into picture. Okay, so this is something you have to understand. So inflation and employment, these should be related to each other. So in stagflation, that's why this is why stagflation is difficult to cater, because you cannot do anything, neither government nor RBI, because if you decrease money supply, it will lead to unemployment, it will lead to you can say growth will further, you can say, suffer. Okay, so I hope you are getting, this is a simple, if you are thorough with the basics, you will be able to understand it. If you are not thorough with the basics, you have to revisit this particular lecture, you have to re-listen this particular thing. Okay, so I hope you are getting this thing, and it is a prolonged period of little or no growth, usually less than 2 to 3% annually in an economy. So we cannot say totally we are in the stagflation, because as of now we are not growing at between 2 to 3%. Okay, we are at 4.7, 4.5 or 5%. Okay, so we are not at 2.3, and that too, if we have to go into the stagflation, that we are not and that we are not in, we would not like this thing. But yes, if there will be the kind of stagflation, it needs to be there, it needs to be there on the regular basis. Okay, so regularity is required, so it is not possible as of now. And apart from that, in normal low growth situation, the government or the central bank can provide economic stimulus. Okay, so if there is a kind of inflation, then you can say, if there is an unemployment or inflation or low growth, so there are different rules to counter those things. But as of now, in stagflation, you cannot do any sort of activity, because ultimately things will become more complicated if you take action. Okay, so that's why it becomes difficult. And apart from that, first advanced estimate of national income 2019-20, so it was released by National Statistical Office under Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, popularly called as MOSPI. Advanced estimate, basically these are based on the benchmark indicators like index of industrial production, remember this IIP, and apart from that, financial performance of listed companies, private sector corporation, and other things, as you can see over here. And apart from that, it seeks to find an extrapolated version of what happened in the economy and what is going to happen. That's why we are saying advanced estimates. Okay, so this is it. And apart from that, the another news is foreign currency borrowing. So what is this foreign currency borrowing? So insofar as the foreign currency borrowing is concerned, so in the budget 2019-20, that is the previous budget, finance minister announced that government would start raising the money from this foreign currency market. Okay, from this program itself. Okay, however, it was not taken later. Why we are saying it was not taken later? Because what happened, that we are talking about budget 2019-20. Okay, and recently 2020-2021 budget was also being released. Okay, so you can understand that as of now there is no you can say and take off the government on this particular issue. What is this foreign currency borrowing? Foreign currency borrowing basically means, you must be knowing about the thing called sovereign bond. Okay, so sovereign bond basically means that government will issue a bond, a piece of paper, in which some sort of face value will be there, some sort of face value in rupee will be there. It might be in rupee or it might be in the, you can say, foreign denomination as well. Okay, so some sort of face value will be there, some sort of time period will be there, that okay, this is the maturity time period and all, and some sort of interest percent will be there. Okay, these are the three components that you will get in such kind of sovereign bond. Why we are calling it as the sovereign? Because it is basically guaranteed by the government, by the state itself, by the government of India itself. Okay, so that's why we call it as the sovereign bond. So insofar as the foreign currency borrowing is concerned, so insofar as this idea is concerned, this has been discussed multiple times. Okay, this has been discussed multiple times, but all the time you will get to know that government is not basically adopting this phenomena, because there are many problems. There are many problems like shallowness of bond market is the issue, and apart from that it basically why we are recommending this thing, and basically we are basically why there is a need of such kind of thing. So basically you need to understand that if government is borrowing from the foreign market, then what will happen is that government can basically domestic market will be freed up. Okay, I hope you are getting. Let's say there is a bank. Okay, so if government is borrowing from foreign market, so what is happening, that if government would not borrow it from foreign market, government will borrow it from the Indian market. So if government will borrow it from the Indian market, there will be the kind of crowding out effect. Okay, crowding out effect basically means that the Indian corporates, they would not be able to get the loan from the bank, because loan has already been taken by the government itself. Okay, the money is not there. So that's why this is known as crowding out effect. Okay, crowding out effect. Crowd basically means the Indian corporate. Just remember this thing. Crowding out effect will be there. So if and only if government will borrow from the foreign currency, foreign market, then what will happen, this particular Indian domestic market will be freed up for the Indian corporates, and this will be called as the crowding in effect. Okay, so remember this thing. And apart from that, bring less expensive resource of and force financial discipline on the government. Okay, so if they would borrow from the outside market, it will create more discipline insofar as the government is concerned, and it will also create a benchmark for Indian companies to raise money abroad. Okay, so Indian companies will also get certain benchmark thing. Okay, and apart from that, why we are not taking up this phenomena? Because of, you can say, because of the problems. Okay, the problems are like, if you will take the loan from outside, if you borrow money from the outside, what will happen, what will happen is that now you are open to external phenomena. Okay, so for example, if something is happening in US, something is happening in the foreign currency market, foreign market, the vulnerability of Indian market will increase because of that particular thing, or you can say vulnerability of the Indian government will increase. Okay, so for example, as of now Indian government is borrowing from the domestic market, so there is no, you can say, there is no impact of foreign currency exchange foreign currency exchange rate on the on this borrowing. Okay, because what is happening is in the Indian rupee. Okay, so rupee is there, rupee is here. Okay, and rupee is being taken, and nothing called as foreign exchange rate is in the picture. But if you consider that, let's say we are taking, government is taking foreign currency borrowing, and government is going for that particular thing, then what will happen, that $1 is equal to 70 rupee, $1 is equal to 76 rupee, then government have to look on those particular things as well, and it becomes more complicated insofar as this thing is concerned. Okay, I hope you are getting. Okay, so sometimes you might get benefit, and sometimes you might get you can say loss as well. Okay, I hope you are getting, because all the things, okay, as of now we are talking, if you just consider the topic under which we are covering this news, we are covering this news under the monetary policy. Okay, fiscal policy of the government. But if this came into picture, if this phenomena came into picture, we have to link it with the external market as well. Okay, so I hope you are getting this. In the heading of the syllabus will also change. Okay, the heading of this news will also change. I hope you are getting this, what I am saying over here. Okay, and apart from that, government bond or sovereign bond is a form of debt. Okay, I have already told you that and there will be a kind of bond, sovereign bond, and this will promise to pay a periodic interest will be there, and apart from that, face value will be there, and maturity date will be there. So three components will be there, and government has only issued bonds in the domestic market as of now. When we are talking about for this sovereign bond, you will get these things in India only, you will not get these things in the outside of the country. And whenever you will get this thing outside of the country, we will say that foreign currency borrowing is happening nowadays. Okay, so I hope you are getting this thing. This is the simple logic you have to remember. Sovereign bond can be denominated both in foreign and domestic currency. Very important, remember this thing. Sovereign bond can be denominated in both foreign as well as the domestic currency. Okay, remember this statement. And apart from that, the next news is 15th finance commission. We will cover this 15th finance commission in the next lesson. As of now, 1.1 has been completed, and under 1.1 we have covered both the things. In 1.1 we have covered slowdown as well as the foreign currency borrowing. In the next lesson we will cover the other important news articles, and stay tuned. And please rate if you are liking this series, then you can comment in the comment section. If you want me to continue it in English, then also you can comment in the comment section. Okay, thank you so much.